I'm Colin.
I'm Ryan.
Today on Duel of the Fans, we're talking
Episode 3.
Revenge of the Sith. This is the best Star Wars movie ever. Do you agree?
Okay, I don't know if it is the best, but I think this is the absolute pinnacle of the prequels, and I highly think that it is one of the best movies. Just not maybe the best.
What tops this? There's no movie on the face of the planet that tops this.
I mean, Empire's pretty good.
Empire's good, but it's not Revenge of the Sith good.
Okay, so let's do it this way. What makes Revenge of the Sith so good to you?
Okay.
Or for you?
So, as you know, as everybody knows by this point, Anakin's my favorite character.
Okay.
This is Anakin's movie. This is from start to finish, this is Anakin's movie. Where like some of the other ones aren't Anakin's movie, like especially episode 1, that was definitely not Anakin's movie.
How could it not be? It's a Skywalker saga.
Well,
it's Anakin.
Yes, but not like for the first half of the movie, he's not even in it. And then he does nothing cool until the end. Episode 2.
He has the pod race. He has the space battle.
Good point. He does have the pod race, but the space battle is at the end. The pod race is a great point, though. Yes, he does do that. I feel like this is just Anakin's movie. And then it's action-packed from the start all the way to the finish.
Okay.
This is the creation of Darth Vader, who is the best villain of all time. This is the reveal of Palpatine. So if you didn't already know beforehand, like this would have been the biggest reveal ever. Like, oh, Emperor Palpatine is, or Darth Sidious is Palpatine. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We've got Obi-Wan, who's awesome in this movie. We've got the Council, who's very active in this movie. They suck, but
yeah,
they're very active. We've got awesome clone battles. We've got awesome lightsaber battles. We've got Mustafar. That whole duel was just absolutely phenomenal. We've got, what are some other standout points? The intro of the movie, like where they come in on the ships and it's like dun dun.
So that's the whole thing
dun,
I'm talking about the intro
and
there too.
They fly in and the whole man up to that point we didn't see anything like that or that intense at least. Like that was super super cool. Dooku's death, Anakin diving even more into the dark side than he did in episode 2, which was awesome. In my opinion, that was my favorite part about episode 2 was the fall of Anakin, right?
Yeah.
And then this is even more so that this is legit the fall of Anakin and the creation of Darth Vader. So you get to see Darth Vader, dark Anakin, light Anakin. You get to see a lot of Anakin. I just think this is the pinnacle of Star Wars. Like this is Star Wars.
Okay, this is Star Wars. Okay, so it sounds like this is the ultimate Anakin for you. You see him in his greatest feats, in his darkest moments. Maybe why I don't think this is the strongest. I love this. So if we look at this movie and we forget about all the side stuff, even though we had the 2003 Clone Wars, which we agree on that being like the best animated Star Wars to come out, that really fleshed this out. So watching this again with you, when we sat down, I took it like I've just seen episode 1 Phantom Menace. I had just seen Attack of the Clones, and I kind of saw that Anakin, and this started, and this was fantastic. And we take it just as a movie on its own. I love this. I absolutely loved every second of this. Now, we had mentioned in Attack of the Clones at that intro, we felt that it was missing something. It was missing an Obi-Wan Anakin adventure where like Anakin wasn't listening to Obi-Wan, but still came through was successful. We were laughing.
That was the beginning. Yeah.
That was the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Like without even realizing it, that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see like this raw talent and power of Anakin. So as a pilot right away, like he's amazing. As a duelist right away, he's phenomenal. Now, I remember reading that intro scene, so that beginning space battle, I think in the original 4 hours that George Lucas had filmed, there was a whole hour devoted to that space battle.
Yeah, it was massive.
There was a lot that happened, but it was Star Wars. We got into it right away.
Yep.
We got capital ships. That's the first time we saw the Venator, right?
Yep. Well, not really, because we saw it at the end of 2. We didn't see the scale of it. You just see them getting on the Venator.
I don't think Venators are in 2, though. I think those are the acclamators.
Oh, yeah, you might be right.
The Dorito-looking one. Yeah. So, because I think this was the, without watching the later Clone Wars series, there's a huge gap between the start of the Clone Wars and they're well into this.
Mm-hmm.
The Jedi ships are different.
It's 2 years have gone by since the end of Attack of Clones to the beginning of 3.
There should have even been more.
So What do you mean by that? Like, you think more time should have gone by? But I know a big thing for you is like you don't like how we're missing the gaps, right? So like if sometimes more time went by,
sometimes I like a good Star Wars story where it feels like you've been dropped into the middle of this massive thing. So Empire starts off and you're dropped into the Battle of Hoth. You know what I mean?
Kind of like here.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. So I kind of wish, though, that maybe there had been a greater time period.
Do Empire and Revenge of the Sith have, like, the same plot? Something like the beginning's the exact same. Well, like, different
planet, so there's a space battle, but it's the rebels running away from the stronger force.
Yeah, giant battle at the beginning.
Yep.
And then we save somebody. Han saves Leia, right?
Yeah.
Gets her out of there.
We get a little bit of, like, with Luke using a lightsaber, too, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like,
Han also saves Luke.
Yep.
But Anakin and Obi save the Chancellor, and then there's no praise after that, I guess. But that didn't really matter. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Anyways,
I get you saying that, like, maybe some of the best elements of the other ones were in this.
Yeah.
I wish maybe there was more time, because being thrown into this, it was super cool. Like, okay, like, look at this battle that's going on. Like, we've got hardened Jedi now. Like, Anakin looks the part. I've seen that behind the scenes where, like, they were trying some different hairstyles and they had him in, like, the samurai knot. That was, like, really
I was watching literally the behind the scenes on the way here, and I was watching that part, and George has got Anakin just, like, jacked, like, super jacked, ponytail, sleeves cut off, and then he walks up to the board, he's like, oh, this is just way too much. And then he's like, no, not so many muscles, change the hairstyle. So it took him like a while to figure out the hairstyle, and they kept trying all these different wigs on Anakin, and he'd be like, nope. Then he went at one point, Hayden Christensen's like, George isn't gonna like this one. George isn't gonna like this one. Like, it's like, that was funny.
I enjoyed that. There's a concept art photo of, even there's one where he looks full samurai. He's like the shaved head, like the mohawk, and like, yeah, it was really intense. Like, he's really trying to hit home that he's grown. But I think the look did work. So seeing him and you're like, okay, he's got this scar. We don't have any story behind it. That's cool.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I like how, like, the ships were different. He's still at R2. The confidence in Hayden Christensen, like, day and night. Oh my God, watching this one, like,
it's perfection.
It's so good.
It's perfection.
You feel like Anakin and Obi-Wan are this troubled master apprentice. Where in episode 2, I didn't feel that. Mm-hmm. And they were separated for most of the movie.
Most of the movie, yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't get that.
In this one, they are too, though.
But
like, it's just like 2. We've got them together at the beginning. Then Obi-Wan gets sent to Utapau quicker than I remember. When we were watching, I was like, damn, that happened quick.
Yeah, you're right. It does.
And then Anakin is like hanging out with Palpatine and stuff. Well, Obi-Wan's on Utapau, right? And then they have their meeting. And then that's when Anakin finds out that, like, after that is when Anakin finds out Palpatine, and everything goes down from there. But they're not really together the whole movie.
Maybe is it just done better in this one then?
100%. Their duo is, they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, their dynamic together is,
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
so perfect.
That dynamic.
Like, they train together for so many hours off camera, though. Like, how can you not have a great dynamic together?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, they just, the cadence at the beginning, like when you said when they're not listening to each other, it's perfect. And one of my favorite scenes is the elevator scene. And Anakin's like, I gotta get out of here. And we don't need to go up. We don't need to get out of here. We need to go up. Like, what the hell? And like, and then Anakin, wins again. And
but you see it in that where, like, he jumps to the top of the roof and they get it going and he has to jump back in. So in that instance, it was like, oh, I should have listened. I should have just stayed put.
Yeah, but he also, like, would have had those droids and been out of there in a second, right? Like, especially if Obi-Wan jumped up there with him, they would have hacked those droids up, been out, gone. Like, on to the next elevator. Like, I don't know, in that instance, like, I feel like Anakin outsmarted Kenobi, absolutely.
So you feel like this movie is, like, the ultimate, like, not just Anakin, but the character himself. Like, that's what you really love.
Yeah.
Like, this is, so he's brash, he doesn't listen, he goes against everything he's told. Everything, like, consistently, like, he does.
Except when Palpatine tells him to do something.
So do you enjoy that? Like, you see the weakness in him? Like, is that not almost a character flaw that, like...
Anakin's a pathetic character. He's absolutely terrible. He's not a good... Like, he's an amazing character, but he's a pathetic person, is what I'm getting at. Like, his life's crap. He was born a slave, beat up by Watto. His friends didn't like him. Everyone is jealous of him. Then the Jedi pick him up. His only person that actually likes him dies right away. So then he gets stuck with Obi-Wan, who doesn't want him, like we've talked about before. Yep. They're telling him he's the chosen one, but then they hold him back. He's clearly doing better than everyone else. They're still holding him back. So up to this point, he's super resentful of the Jedi. He's like, let me go save my mom. No, you can't go save your mom. Mom dies. Well, like, this man has just had a horrible, horrible life. And, like, he's a broken human. He's a terrible, like, broken human. So, yeah, he's super flawed. And then he's got Palpatine, who from a young kid has been like, oh, you're amazing. Like, you're actually what everyone tells you to be. And, like, just keep doing what you're doing. You'll be better. And, like, up till this point, like, he's just been greasing him up. Like, here's candy. Here's candy. Like, you know what I mean?
All right.
Palpatine's his only person. And then Palpatine, at the beginning, Anakin's like, I can't kill Dooku. It's not the Jedi way. And Palpatine's like, do it. And then, bam, he just kills him. Like,
instantly, yeah. Like,
okay, like, done. And then he also...
Meanwhile, just when Mace Windu has a chance to kill him later, what does he do? He's like, no, he's got to stand trial.
Yeah. And that was because Palpatine was like, Anakin, don't let him kill me. And he's like, oh, no, can't let him kill you.
Yeah.
Whoa, what was I just getting at? What was my last point?
So you talked about, essentially here, like, Anakin is a broken human being.
Yeah.
So he's flawed. He is like, it's kind of like, I equate it like he's a nerd hanging out with, like, these super wizard nerds, but to them, he's not even accepted. Like, he does not fit in. He does not have the dynamic.
But while not being accepted, they're like, yo, you're the best.
Yes.
But you can't hang out with us.
And then Palpatine comes in and he's like, hey, you're real good.
Yeah. But the breaking point was when the Jedi Council was like, hey, you go spy on the one guy that trusts you. And Anakin instantly was like, oh, that makes me feel terrible. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So then straight up disobey. Well, actually, he kind of didn't disobey because he did go tell Mace Windu.
But he tells Palpatine that the Jedi Council...
No, Palpatine just sensed it. Palpatine
But he confirms it, though. Yeah. So it's like, it's like, hey, go be a spy. And in his very first mission, he's like, I'm a spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a spy.
Palpatine was like, they asked you to do something you didn't like. And he's like, how do you know? And he's like, they sent you to spy on me, didn't they?
Because he knows.
Right away.
Yeah, he knows what's going on. And he knows, like, that's the situation that they're going to be in.
Such a, like, broken character. So then when Palpatine goes, I'll give you everything you want, just go murder all the people that have done you wrong since you were a child.
Yeah.
How are you not? And you get to save the one person who really, really, really loves you because she's going to die.
Rewatching these with you, I mean, I always get a better appreciation. Like, when we're in the moment, we focus on it. But I really did feel that this time, that, like, you feel this brokenness, that he's got nothing. And then, you know, people are like, he turned so fast. And it's like, well, what did he have?
Yeah.
He didn't like the Jedi. He didn't like any of them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were his best. If Obi-Wan had been there, different story.
Yeah.
If Obi-Wan is at the temple during Order 66, for whatever reason, Anakin marches in with the 501st, and he's greeted by Obi-Wan at some point, different story.
100%. I want to take a chunk of this episode, too, and just give all of the haters absolute for not liking Hayden Christensen. Like,
so, I mean, he really... Dude. So did they not like him after episode 2, or did they not like him after this?
I think it was episode 2 that it was like, hey, he sucks. And then they were like, well, he sucked in episode 2, so he's no better in this.
Yeah.
And everyone's like biggest complaint is like his lines were choppy. His dialogue was bad. He was whiny. And I'm like, okay, he didn't write his dialogue, so not his fault. If you think the dialogue was bad, go to the person who wrote it. Secondly, his lines were shaky and stuff because he's a broken character.
Yeah.
He's not confident in himself, but he's trying to be confident. He wants to show off, but he can't show off. His whole life is tragic. He's broken. So no wonder he's whiny and can't get a sentence off without with not in a posh, perfect way like some of the other Jedis, like Kenobi or something, right? Like and then also Hayden studied like Darth. I don't know where I saw this. I saw this on YouTube, so take it with a grain of salt. But Hayden studied Darth Vader's voice, so when he said things, he would try to say it in a way that Darth Vader used to say it. And then I'm like, okay, well, people say Hayden sucks, and I'm like, this man tried to replicate Darth Vader's voice without it's just he went so above and beyond, and he is the character of Anakin. Like, I could not see anyone else doing that role, and like, I don't think anyone else would have done. Leonardo DiCaprio on his best days couldn't have did what Hayden Christensen did in these movies.
It's the person. It's the entire character. Like we don't see like Hayden Christensen had not been in anything, and I think that was a smart move to cast someone that was like
definitely.
This is what he's going to be known for. It's funny that I maybe thought that like when you had said you liked Anakin, that you had seen him as like this like perfect like chiseled Adonis, that like he's like the. And then watching these with you and like having the discussions, I have a better appreciation too, because you do really, you just focus on this character and you're like, I said it earlier, he is like the biggest outcast among the most outcasted people.
Yeah.
And like, they don't even accept him as an outcast. Yeah. So now he's got no one. And then all of a sudden this, and I know people kind of joke originally that like it was a weird relationship, but the older Palpatine, younger Anakin, that's a friggin' great dynamic.
Oh, 100%.
That was the father figure Anakin has never had. Yep. He's never had a father.
And then
he's had a brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a father taken from him.
I was just going to say he had Qui-Gon for a matter of 2 hours. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like a day or two maybe. But like, yeah, no. And then, okay, so this was another big point that I was going to get to. Anakin, after all of the things we just talked about and how tragic his life is, his father figure, who he loves and looks up to, killed his woman, put the dreams in his head, set all the bounties on him. Like, could you imagine your entire life has just been sucky, all because of the dude you trusted? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, the circle. George Lucas is an absolute genius. Like, and what he did was absolutely amazing. Like, when you really look at it, you're like, every terrible thing in Anakin's life
is because
kind of happened because of Palpatine. And then
it is because of absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like you get to the point where you're like, oh, I'm happy. I'm going to save my wife. My father figure is going to help me, mentor me, not treat me like the Jedi did.
Yeah.
Padme dies, and very quickly you realize, oh, my life sucks because of the dude that I just gave my life to.
Now, did he fully? Because it's not like it's not like Palpatine had any hand in his mom dying, but was he fully aware of Palpatine's like machinations behind the scene?
I think so.
See, I almost take it that like even in that flawed aspect, like that he still cannot. He's so broken. So it's like a cult. It's like when you get deep into the cult and you're following this crazy leader, and everyone from the outside goes, "This leader's crazy," and you're like, but I've been following them for so long, and like they have said some stuff that like resonated with me and like connected. So I don't listen to the crazy stuff. And now I'm so far into this, like I know they're crazy, but like there's no way that because then I'd be crazy for listening to this crazy person.
Yeah.
Like
see, that's where I think Anakin's broken though. I'm like, okay, so he's figured it all out, but now he has no Padme, he has no Jedi, he has no people to fall back on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that he can't like who does he? What, he turns on Palpatine at this point?
So
he's no one.
Well, so Vader, Anakin, whoever you want to call it, is broken, but he's not an idiot. Well, Vader's not an idiot. So
there's 3 people in this movie. There's Jedi Knight Anakin.
Yep.
There's Lord Vader.
Yep. And then there's Darth Vader.
And there's Darth Vader.
So Darth Vader figures out in overtime. It wouldn't be like the day after.
Yeah.
But say it's 5 years have gone by. He knows Palpatine pulled all those strings, but so he would have put it together. This is how Anakin put it together. Palpatine, he knows Palpatine was in charge of Dooku, right? That he would have known that after he found out Palpatine was.
But would he have known? Because he rescued Palpatine with Dooku in front of him.
Yeah, but he would have known that everything was set up. Because at this point, he's like, well, you had all the clones. You instantly turned the entire galactic army against the Jedi.
Okay.
So you had some pull. You've been tricking all of us this whole time. Like, he didn't hide the plan from Vader after. You know what I mean? Like, the Jedi would have been taken from it. But as soon as Anakin realized that he was the Emperor, it would have been like, oh, okay, so you are in control of Dooku, who's a Sith Lord.
Well, because he does say you are the Sith Lord we've been chasing. Okay.
So he knows.
Yeah, okay. So that's
Dooku put Jango on Padme. Like, the whole trail they took it back to in episode 2 ended at Dooku. Who was above Dooku? Palpatine. So Palpatine did all this stuff. Then the clones turn, and Anakin's got all the clones to go kill the Jedi, conveniently. Right? So Vader figures this out. But what I'm thinking is, Vader's smart. So Vader goes, I have nothing left to live for other than slaughtering.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So how do I get better at slaughtering?
I want this power,
I fuel my hate.
Yeah.
So what do? I hang out with the dude that ruined my life. How do you fill yourself with more anger? Right? You go to work, you wake up in your crappy outfit that's full of needles poking you and can't breathe, and you go into the office and it's the dude that ruined your life and killed your wife.
And you're there
just going to go, this sucks, and like it's just going to...
And he gave you the most terrible suit. Like there are better prosthetics out there, but he gave you something that like limits you.
Yeah.
But he's also promising you this knowledge and this power, which he does in theory give to him. Lord Vader is stronger than Anakin, and Darth Vader is stronger than Lord Vader.
Yeah.
So he is getting some results here.
But not what he wanted.
I can't wait to see this. I kind of, in my headcanon, think that the revolution comes at Return of the Jedi when Palpatine's killing his son, and he's like doing the like, oh, he is the bad guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still have to disagree. I feel like Vader knew the whole time.
I think he knew to a degree, but I don't think he knew just how manipulative everything was. Like, I don't think, because again, we're taking these movies just as these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we've watched 6-7 hours of prequels, whatever it is. Okay, he doesn't know the Sifo Dyas, like that Dooku did it, but was really Palpatine organizing it. Like, I don't think he knows that extent. I think like things are coincidental for him. That like the clone army just happened to be there. We're fighting in the Clone Wars. I don't think he realized that like the clone army's there because of Palpatine. And like because of like, I take it that Anakin's not that smart. Like not in like a bad way, but like he's still like, he is just trying to take whatever Palpatine says and like hold it at value. Like this is my everything right now. See, I think that you're right. There's a lot of denial where he's like, oh, well, shit, he's the Sith master, but he really can't help me. He really can't help me save Padme.
At that point, yes.
He really can't help me, like, become the strongest.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, so how does Padme die?
So she loses. This is the worst part of this movie, in my opinion. Is she loses the will to live?
Okay, no wait. A little bit of sequel trilogy hate here. Doesn't Ben Solo like give his life force to Rey?
Mm-hmm.
So you know that like people with the Force can do that. So did you not take it that like maybe Padme gave her life force to Anakin, or we talked about during the movie, Lord Vader took Padme's life force without even realizing it. It was the one thing he was connected to, that one sort of attachment. And like when he's dying on Mustafar, because that's when she dies, and like it looks like he's gonna die, and Obi-Wan walks away. It's like he is doing everything he can to hold on to, and the only thing he has to hold on to is Padme. So even without realizing it, I think Palpatine's right. Like in your anger, you killed her.
Interesting.
Like part of you died to survive, to keep, and that part was her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because it is really lame that like she just lost the will to live.
It's so stupid. I love that theory. That's great. And like, so I told you this like way back. I think it was episode 1. But like, I believe the Force would not let Anakin die no matter what, till he restores balance to the Force.
So when is that balance? When he kills Palpatine?
Yes.
And okay, so here's the thing that we talk about balance.
But I don't think that's balance. But clearly George did at that time.
So balance is not all one way or not all the other, right? Mm-hmm. You need, so technically isn't the Force balanced when there's Jedi and Sith?
You'd think.
Right?
But
because technically
we're saying prophecies are also biased to the people that write them. If the Jedi write a prophecy, it's going to be, well, the Sith are all going to die.
Yeah, we talk about this. Yeah, it's how everyone kind of perceives the Force. It's like the Force is this thing, and it's like, oh, I read it this way, but you read it this way. Yeah. So it's like, that back and forth.
So if we're going to look at it this way, this is my theory that just popped into my mind. So balance in the Force at that moment and why Anakin was born is because Palpatine was too evil. So there would be no balance. Because now, again...
Okay, so you're saying
so we're not
Palpatine was too evil, so Anakin was created to balance that evil?
To kill Palpatine.
Couldn't you argue, though, that the Jedi are at the pinnacle of their power right now? Before going downhill?
The Jedi are wiped out at this point. We're talking about episode 6 right now, when he kills Palpatine.
Okay, so I say when Anakin was created, like, and so like when he was born.
Yeah, but the Force would have planned it.
But it was was Anakin's birth a counter to the Jedi at their power, and we needed the dark to come in to bring them back down?
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Maybe. But like what I'm thinking is like Palpatine was like too evil. So yeah, I think you're right. I think, okay, the Jedi had to die first, part of the Force's plan. So Jedi died.
Okay.
Then
because they've lost their way.
Palpatine has to die because he's way too evil for the galaxy. So he dies. And then
what are you left with?
With light, there will come dark. So with light, give it 15 years. Well, now we've got Darth Caedus. With light, there will become dark.
Because there's always a cycle.
So it's the restart of the cycle. So I think that's why Anakin was born. And he can't die until that point. So no matter what happened on Mustafar, he would have stayed alive and he would have. But I like, and that's part of that theory. When you say he took the life, the Force took the life from
Padme. That's how I took it. That okay. So here's a really cool kind of reverse thing here. So we're kind of saying that Anakin was born to counter the light side. So does that mean Luke was born to counter the dark side?
No,
because when
Luke's not the chosen one.
He is absolutely the chosen.
No, okay. So Luke is not the chosen one. So no, Anakin filled both sides of prophecy.
Well, he went from being good to bad.
Yep.
And so his ultimate thing was, okay, so he was good, then he was bad, and then he turned back good again. Mm-hmm. He redeemed himself. But at his pinnacle of being bad, so he was in power. Luke came into effect. So Luke's
the catalyst.
Luke is the chosen one.
No, he's not. Luke didn't do anything. Luke just sat on the ground and got tasered.
Obi-Wan says it, that Luke is the chosen one.
He says there's a new hope.
He says it to Maul. He says it's the chosen one. Luke was the one. So the way that I see it, Luke is the one that brought balance to the Force, not Anakin.
Whose word would you take when it comes down to Star Wars lore? Would you take George Lucas or Dave Filoni? Who knows Star Wars better?
Hey,
because George says Anakin's the chosen one, and Dave Filoni says Luke's the chosen one.
So Dave says Luke's the chosen one. I guess I'm Team Dave now.
Because if it's from Rebels, then it's Dave. Luke can't be the chosen one because it came straight from George's words.
But I think in the movie that I take it that because they talk about it in this one all the time that the prophecy could be wrong, that we could have misread it, and that's the way that I see this movie. I don't see that Anakin was the chosen one. Anakin brings about the chosen one. Anakin brings about the balance to the Force. So he becomes this Jedi Knight. He fails as a Jedi Knight and becomes a Sith Lord. He fails as a Sith Lord and redeems himself through his son. Oh, his son is I am a Jedi like my father before me. That's why Anakin has that because Anakin was good, fell from the good to the dark. Luke's like, no. I am a Jedi like my father before me.
So why would he say that though?
Because it's like
if
a slap in the
not
face
a good Jedi.
To Palpatine, because Palpatine was the one that took this Jedi.
So if anything, that wouldn't be a slap in the face. It's like, I'm ready, take me.
Well, but that's the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like Palpatine wants to turn the son of Skywalker, a powerful ally he will become.
Mm-hmm.
If Palpatine can only have one apprentice, and he has Vader or Luke,
he's going to choose Luke.
100%.
Yeah.
Vader has run his course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Luke has this potential, just like Anakin did. And he saw what he could do with Anakin. He's like, I'm going to mold and shape and I'm going to get exactly what I want. Luke is the one that's like, no, I'm good. You're a piece of shit. Dad, come back to the light side.
So what did Luke do to balance the Force? Killed all the Sith?
He brought Anakin back. Anakin killed the Sith. So Anakin wasn't the chosen one. Luke was the chosen one because he corrected it. Anakin was the tool. Anakin was just a tool of the Force. He was this immaculate in conception.
Well, that's just a point of view then. Like, you could say, well, Anakin didn't kill the Sith.
Well, my point of view,
his robot hands did. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I get it that, like, okay, if Reva had killed Luke and there was no Luke Skywalker, I don't think Leia would have ever had the impact she could have, that Luke would have. I think if anything, maybe he would have had an impact on her. Like we talked about this during the movie. Princess Leia is Anakin. Brash, outgoing, knows best. Luke is Padme.
Yeah.
Diplomatic, soft-spoken, a little bit whiny, a little bit entitled, but like when push comes to shove, she's going to be on the front lines, charging her throne room.
Yeah.
He's going to be on the Death Star, on the Battle of Hoth. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I take it that like Leia is kind of faltered. Like you need both. But like if Luke wasn't around, Leia would be on the dark side. And you know, if Vader captures her, Episode 4, and there's no Luke and Han to rescue her, she's eventually going to become an Imperial.
Probably.
The Anakin is just like, he's like a piece of clay. He's just like mold me into
because
what
he's
it is.
been so beat up over the years, so he has no like ground to stand on anymore.
He is no one. He has no identity.
Yeah,
I really really like that in this movie, where like you could feel that like this is everything he is. His image. He's a slave. You know, he won this pod race. The space battle. He feels like he's amazing. You know, people tell me he's amazing, but they also like, well, maybe you're not the chosen one, or listen to me, or do this and that. It's like he doesn't get that respect, and it's like I said, he's like an outcast. He finally feels like he's made it amongst these other outcasts, and they still kind of shun him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has nothing. He has no sense of identity.
Yeah, definitely. So Anakin's the chosen one. I got a good question for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Why would Luke be the chosen one if all Star Wars movies are about Anakin? And we can argue that the last 3 are about Luke. And but they're not. They're still about Anakin. They're still about Vader. Vader is the main bad guy in those movies. So he's still a giant part of all 3 movies, right? Like, it's not like Vader is Darth Maul. Because he's not. He's in the movie way more than Darth Maul was in Phantom Menace, right? Like, he's a massive part about those movies. We follow Luke in the originals, but to me, I'm like, that's still the Anakin story.
Wonder who has the most amount of screen time. Wonder if we could look it up. Anakin, I would assume it's obviously Anakin.
It's gonna be something crazy like R2 or something.
And then, yeah, I know. And then so Anakin, and then Vader in the plus. Okay, so if you had Anakin in the prequels,
yep,
and Darth Vader in the originals, and then Luke in the originals and Luke in the sequels, I wonder who has more screen time. But
are we counting the sequels? Is that real?
It's part of it.
So, okay, we're switching topics again here. Do you
touched a sore spot?
Yeah, you did. Do you think, like, when you look at Star Wars, okay, right now you're like Star Wars, do you go 1 to 9 or do you say 1 to 6? Like, in your brain, in your mind, in your feelings, is it 1 to 9 or is it 1 to 6?
It's everything. It's even the stuff we don't like. It's 1 to 9. It's Book of Boba Fett. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But like, you can't just shut that stuff off. Like, for me, so what I do, and only to a certain extent, obviously, like, there's parts of Boba I didn't like, there's parts of Kenobi I didn't like, but like, the grand scheme of things, I'm like, okay. But like, even the Boba thing, I'm like, no, that ain't canon. Like, it happened, but no. I'm like, to me, I make up my own story. Like, I'm like, this happened. Sequels definitely didn't happen. To me, Legends, like, and obviously I'm not, what's the word? Like, I'm not like crazy. I know they happened. I know it was a real thing. But I'm like, to me, I'm just choosing to pick what I like as the lore.
You're selective in what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tough one. Because you go down this dark rabbit hole of like, what do you select? Because then even within the movies, like, do you select that like maybe Attack of the Clones, like certain things didn't happen because they're so ridiculous?
No,
or
you can't unselect the original 6. That doesn't work.
Can't you just accept everything as? See, it was messy when Disney came along and created this Legends and
canon.
If you want to call it that now, like what they're following, there were a lot of really good stories out there. There's a lot of really weird stories too. Don't get me wrong. Like, not everything
like from the books and comics and stuff.
Everything, even some of the games. Like, not everything was an absolute like banger. But it was fun because it was just this bigger thing, so you could have the good and the bad. Now it's like Disney's like, no, there is one canon. It is this, and it is perfect. And you're like, but it's not.
Yeah.
So before, we're like, I could pick and choose my stories, some of the books, some of the comics, some of the games. You're like, no, that is absolutely not what it is. This is what it is.
So why would you let Disney change that for you, though? Like, screw Disney. Don't let them tell you what is and what isn't. Yeah, they own it, but I'm like, build your own story. That's the fun of it, right? Like,
I think Disney has given us some of the best Star Wars we've seen in years.
Oh, that's crazy.
Andor
how can you do that?
is the best Star Wars I have seen on television.
Better than episode 3?
Well, I'm talking Andor TV show. So I think Andor is probably better than Book of Boba Fett.
Okay, but
Mandalorian.
Hold up. I think maybe I misread what you said. Is Andor the best Star Wars ever made? Or is Andor
is the best Disney Star Wars, I believe.
Just the best Disney Star Wars. Well, we'll debate that another time. I'm like, we're talking about the original 6. Nothing tops the original 6. No show that has ever come out tops the original 6.
You can say, like, in the George Lucas times, the Clone Wars movie is part of canon. That's...
Like the Clone Wars show?
The movie.
You haven't even seen that. You can't judge that.
I've seen enough to know.
No, you told me you've not sit down and watched it from front to back.
I will watch it front to back. That'll be a watch with you. But what I have seen of it is like...
Remember how you felt about Phantom Menace before we watched that? And then you kind of got a better light for it? I'm like, so you may have seen all the bad. Everyone says your phones are listening to you and they give you what you want to hear and stuff. So maybe if you're crapping on that movie, your phone is pumping out that content. But if you're like, I friggin' love that movie, then you're going to get all the edits that people have made of all the good stuff from that movie.
Even with the Clone Wars, the 2008 series, there's a lot of really good with it, but there's a lot that I didn't need to know. Sometimes there's too much explanation and there's too much story that it kind of takes away from the magic of it.
I feel like the first 2 or 3 seasons of Clone Wars kind of sucked. Like, to be completely honest. Like, there was a couple good episodes, but in the grand scheme of things, like... It didn't really get good until season 3. That's when we started to get like the Mortis arc and like the Umbra battle. Like we got like some big stuff. Neat things.
Yeah, there were some absolutely like some neat elements. I mean, there was some silly stuff too. So I mean, like even within that, like I have to accept like that's part of George Lucas's vision.
That wasn't. Well, part of I guess half and half was
that Disney came out before Disney, didn't they?
I think it was coming out well. Disney bought because season 7 was Disney.
Absolutely, I think because they pushed for that.
Maybe up till season 6 was. There's only 7 seasons, so like maybe up to season 6 was.
And there was a planned 7th season that was canceled. It was, I think, mostly finished in like the animation, but they didn't do the detailed work.
Really? I didn't even know
see that actually in that scene because Boba Fett is a young child. He gets his Mandalorian body armor. We see him later in, and he faces off against Cad Bane, and Cad Bane shoots him in the helmet, and that gives Boba Fett the dent. So it's like an explanation for that. Totally off. But yeah, okay, I think when you're looking at the original where do you draw the line? Like, where do you...
So,
I actually had the novelization of all 3 books. I wanted to bring it down. I forgot. But I want to read it. To kind
the making of?
No, just the novelization, like the movie novelizations. I didn't realize I had them.
So to me, I'm like... And yes, you can argue the Clone Wars is in there, but George's Star Wars was 1 to 6. He had a 7, 8, 9 planned, but that got kiboshed when Disney bought, right? Like, what do you mean I can't say that? I can't say that. That's what he made.
I mean, if he really wanted to, he made $4 billion, but like, how much has that made Disney right now?
Oh,
so it's not like he was financially destitute to like, he had to sell Star Wars and like, if he wanted to, he could have made episode 7, 8, 9. He could have funded them himself. He could have.
Well, I think he was also like taking time too. Right, like he took a bunch of time in between, because I'm pretty sure he said in an interview once he doesn't like doing it. It's not fun for him.
It's probably an immense thing.
You've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. Like
we talk about the magic of like the episode 4, A New Hope. Like a lot of the hand drawn cells and animation, the miniatures and stuff. Like when you watch the behind the scenes, it's like it's guys just figuring out how to make it work. Like they're just trying neat techniques and film and media, and it works, and it's great.
George was like, do this thing that's never been done, and they were like, we can't, and he was like, yes you can, and then they did it, and Star Wars has progressed cinema so much.
So we feel that like episodes 1, 2, and 3, like he loses it with the CGI. So 1, I appreciated what it was. 2, I think was just too much of it. The CGI was too heavily relied on. It wasn't a garnish, it was the entire dish. I think episode 3 here, because this is what we're talking about tonight.
Yep.
I think this has a real good, healthy mix of both.
Yeah.
It's got the practical, it's got the digital, it's a little bit of the, but I still feel it's like too much, just a little bit too much digital. Like Grievous in
it's
himself.
It's hard to say that though, because like then we wouldn't have had that ship battle at the beginning that you loved. We wouldn't have had Mustafar.
You could have done it with miniatures and stuff. You could have done it in different elements. So like even at
not Mustafar though.
But so Mustafar, a lot of that is a lot of the volcano eruptions are real. from a real, not Mount St. Helen. I could be wrong. We'll check that out. A lot of that is Obi-Wan standing on a little platform, and they CGI the stuff in the background and like the flowing lava. Like I get that. Grievous. So I should specify what I'm talking about in CGI. So the Mustafar is great. Grievous on Utapau. They took Ewan McGregor. I always say his name incorrectly. Ewan McGregor. It's not Ewan. It's Ewan McGregor. They took him. They could have just put him in behind a green screen and shot all of Utapau, and they didn't need any other cast.
Yeah.
The only other, I think, actors in that scene are the. It's not Muns. What are they? The bankers.
The bankers are Muns, but they are
the Grand Inquisitor.
Utapauans, I think. Something like that.
So again, that really frustrated me that like that's what they could look like in the movies, and the live action Inquisitor is just terrible.
It got Disneyed.
So that's the only person that was on screen. That was fantastic. Everything else is CGI in that.
Wasn't the Yelper people in costumes?
Was it?
I think they were in like blue screen costumes. I could be wrong, but I think I remember seeing something like that.
But like he was all like the Yelper, he goes on a stealth mission and picks the loudest
that was
creature.
Funny.
That's hilarious.
That was funny.
All of the Grievous stuff is CGI.
Yeah. But I mean, it looked good. Like,
have you seen those? We'll put up a little image. Someone did a cosplay a few years back of Grievous.
I've seen that, yeah.
That's phenomenal.
It was crazy. But I
how
mean,
cool would that have been?
Yeah, but if they did that for the movie, it wouldn't have worked. Like
Peter Jackson filmed Lord of the Rings, and to this day, you can put those in, and the scenes of a little hobbit and a big,
Gandalf.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Timeless. Absolutely timeless. He used different body sizes. He used perspective. It's doable. You know what I mean? If Grievous had some, maybe just something, some tangibility, some sort of like.
I don't think if he was live action or like a practical effect, he would have looked better. I can't see it happening.
A practical
especially
effect
in 2005.
Supplemented with CGI, but just something, because it doesn't feel like Obi-Wan is fighting anything. It's just like Ewan McGregor is just acting out against the green screen. Like, we talk about the Dooku fight. So the Dooku fight at the beginning is great. The deleted scene that they didn't film, or I guess it would have been not deleted, the concept film, that Anakin Dooku fight is phenomenal.
Or he burns his face.
So cool.
Yeah.
But there's limitations. Like, when you see Dooku fighting, it's not 1,000-year-old Christopher Lee.
Mm-hmm.
It is a body double that they're superimposing. And even at then, like, there are moments when you focus on it and you're like, wow, that's really jarring.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a body double or it's him.
Yeah.
But there's someone there that Anakin's fighting.
Yeah, but I didn't feel that with Obi-Wan. Like, he's giving her.
Okay, everyone loves the hello there scene.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fantastic. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. He's terrible at everything he does, and he's my favorite Jedi, especially in this movie. But, like...
So you don't like the hello there?
The scene is silly in that, like, he lands in the middle of a bunch of droids. That
was so dumb. It's so weird. Because if Grievous wasn't arrogant, like, let me take him, then he would have died. There's no possible way he could have defended all this.
Why would Grievous have ever, like, let him, like, I've killed all these Jedi. Just shoot him.
Yeah.
So that could have been written better. The fight is iconic, and we see Obi-Wan. That's the first time he uses the stance.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But when he arms himself in that stance, isn't the next scene he, like, relaxes and he, like, pulls something down and, like, crushes droids?
Yeah.
So it's, like, instantly, like, taken back.
Yeah.
Why am I talking my favorite character down? Second favorite.
This should be my job.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just letting you destroy him.
It's because I have the costume. No, there's nothing there. When Grievous's blades start spitting and they're cutting the ground, there's no, like, I don't have fear that, like, anything's going to happen to Obi-Wan. It's not
because Obi-Wan's the man.
But even at that, like, it just on film. Like, when you watch the Anakin Obi-Wan fight, he can't win and he's got to win. But, like, those two actors are going at it. Mm-hmm. And they're going at it hard.
Yeah.
And you feel everything. All those movements, when they do the Obi-Annie, and people are like, oh, they don't even touch sabers. They're intentionally not doing that.
Yeah.
They're waiting for the next guy to move. They're waiting for what is his strike going to be. I'm going to go against him. Okay, he's not going. I'm not going. He's not, like, it's cool.
Yeah.
the Grievous stuff is just...
Well, Obi-Wan just dismantled him. Like, that was so nice when we were watching it. Like, it's pathetic how crap they made Grievous in this movie. Like, from the 2003 show,
at the time,
like, Grievous is an animal. He's running faster than the Jedi. He's outrunning bullets. He's murking these Jedi like it's absolutely nothing. He's stepping on their faces.
Okay, so this is a great point.
But
so if you're going to have CGI Grievous, he needs to be that...
I agree with you there.
If he's going to be old, decrepit, asthmatic Grievous, he needs to be some sort of practical effect to explain the crappy movement and the slow stuff.
Like, I still think he should have been CGI, whether he's old and crappy, but why didn't they do that? And like that, oh man, the more we talk about that, it just bugs the crap out of me. Like, that fight could have been insane. That fight could have been the best fight in the movie. Well, no, wouldn't have the most sentimental value.
Does Grievous use 4 arms in the 2003 series?
Yeah.
He uses his legs, but he uses all 4 lightsabers, right?
And his legs.
So
he's like standing on one hand at one point with 3 lightsabers in arms and then 2 in his legs, and he's spinning and just...
And that was George Lucas had created that Clone Wars series. So it's like, you had this. What did you... Why is this...
Budget must have just been too much. Like, it must have just been too much.
But come on, it's Star Wars.
But he still had a budget.
It's his production.
He still had a budget.
George, cough up some money. People do it all the time.
He still had a budget. Like,
there are still...
yes, he could have went and seeked investors and like...
There's big productions. I don't want to say like... No, I don't want to speak out, but there are big movies out there where like actors or producers have put their own money for it to be like, I think Schwarzenegger did it on... not one of the Terminator. It might have been. Something like that.
Those movies
I think it was Terminator 3. I think, and I could be wrong, it's Terminator 3, the scene where the crane is destroying all the buildings. You can look this up. I think Schwarzenegger forked out a ton of his own money to help fund that.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. That's cool. That's an investment. George, you could have done that.
Yeah.
So think about if we have crippled Grievous, make it a prosthetic, make it a puppet. Even if you superimpose the puppet on a green screen, a tangible moving puppet in some capacity, that'd be cool.
That's hilarious.
So then you have this like, so we should have had the stronger, cooler Grievous. Yeah. We didn't get that. So give us this slow one and, make it kind of stop motion, something cool that feels like you feel that there's something there. And it's not the Anakin Obi-Wan fight that we have later that's really fast and intense and hectic. Have this just be a massive droid that's just like, you feel the weight of all of it.
So it should have been Dirge.
Even the Dirge stuff is like he moves maybe too fast, but like something where like Obi-Wan's just having a tough time killing him.
Okay, do you think Obi-Wan was on the offensive or the defensive this fight? Because for me, it feels very much like he's on the offensive. See,
he's the ultimate defender, is he not? So I feel like he's on the defense the entire time.
You think?
So I think that's why. So this is my headcanon. He jumps down the hello there because he doesn't know how to make the first move. And
that's a great theory.
He doesn't want to make the first move because
then he's going to screw it up.
Yeah. I need him to make the first move, so I know how to stop him. And what does he do? He destroys his guards. He gets him ready. He gets Grievous to pull out his trump card, which is the 4 sabers, and his ultimate move, which is the spinning.
Yeah.
And what is the first thing Obi-Wan does?
Zip. Cuts off his hand.
Yep. He's like, I don't know how to kill you, but I know how to stop you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is how you're going to do it. I know how to stop that.
Okay, good point. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
So I take it that he's on the defense, but then like, because when he goes to the offense, he has no clue what he's doing. He's punching a metal droid. He's kicking a metal droid.
Yeah.
He's shooting it. Like, how did you not know? Like, you haven't punched a droid during the Clone Wars. No one's like,
I don't even think you need to punch a droid to know you shouldn't punch a droid. I've never punched a droid. I'm not going to go punch a droid.
I don't think, let's not punch droids.
Yeah, that was dumb.
But he punches a droid, and like, what does he expect? Like a little bit of slapstick humor. So I take it that like, he's not very good at attacking.
Yeah.
He's really good at defending, though.
So after Utapau, that's when Anakin falls, right?
No, Anakin falls during Utapau.
Yes, during Utapau. Because the clones trade on Kenobi. Which was such an amazing, like for me, especially the other night when we were watching it, like, bro, that hit me in the feels. We talked about that during the movie. Forget about inhibitor chips. Yeah.
And you take it that like these soldiers that have been fighting with these Jedi generals for years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they turn on them.
Yeah.
And I said it was like, think of this level of resentment. Like this clone.
For the Jedi.
Yeah, this clone has been raised from creation. It has been bred to fight this battle. And it's not even leading. It's being led by these keepers of peace, these guardians of the galaxy, these, you know what I mean? And it's like they're resentful.
That's why they all love Anakin so much. He's a warrior who fights on the front line.
But they were all fighting on the front line, but I think it's like they feel crippled by them. And we see later
in the Clone Wars, there's someone mentions it at some point, but they say like Anakin was like the only general that fought in front of his clones.
Yeah, consistently. And
like he was at the front with Rex, and the rest were at the back. And where with everyone else, they were at the commanders were at the back, and the clones were leading the fight. Like, so Anakin's a warrior with them. And like when you brought that theory up, I was like, well, no wonder they wouldn't trade on Anakin. Like, and we're talking right now, like if they didn't have inhibitor chips, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so if we were just watching episode 3, we don't know about any chips because nothing's mentioned.
Yeah.
It's just, why did these soldiers turn on their generals?
Yeah. And follow Anakin. Like, yeah, it's great.
Well, at that time too, it wasn't just like, so they turn on their generals for this reason because they have resentment. Who do they follow? Well, okay, so we've turned, and now we're going to follow this guy because this guy you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I take it, like, and I know, like, Order 66 gets a lot of slack. Like, how does Palpatine was prepared. The whole point of this Clone Wars was to weaken the Jedi, was to spread them out. So he knew, like, okay, like, things happen. Like,
he's the Commander ultimate planner.
Execute Order 66. Take General Kenobi out. He has just defeated General Grievous. So I can now make the excuse that Grievous has fallen, the Clone Wars is over, Obi-Wan has done his job. That's what we needed. Now we can start taking him down. He needs to go. Probably in hindsight, and maybe it was hubris that he missed, I would have thought that, like, Yoda would have been the first to target. Like,
I think they all got targeted at the same time. Like, obviously they can't show us everything on screen at once, but like, I kind of took it as like that was a montage. Like when he calls Order 66, it goes to all the commanders. Like,
in that scene, he specifically says Commander Cody, so we know that they're like, he's sending specific messages instead of, because I always thought that too. It's like Order Execute 66. He probably, like, that was but I feel like he went to Cody first. So like, okay, who comes to arrest him? The most powerful Jedi, Mace Windu, the one he fears the most. Mace comes to
his office.
The other thing too was the Wookiees get attacked right at that, like, perfect time. Like the whole, like, what about the Wookiees? Like, and Yoda goes to help. Like, it seems like Palpatine had the Separatist attack this Wookiee,
100% he did.
This, weird planet, knowing that it would pull Yoda away. They didn't really, it seems like he had a plan for Mace.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, that whole, we'll talk about this later, the whole, I think Mace is a little bit too dark. But once he kills Mace, he kills with 3 other Jedi, he's like, okay, who's my next threat? It should have been make sure Yoda's dead, then Kenobi. But he goes right to Kenobi because, hey, okay, Kenobi's defeated. Because it all happened simultaneously, right?
Yeah.
I loved 66. I felt it. I felt it's like when everyone turned on it, when he gives that order, like...
It's like a 30-minute montage of all the Jedi dying.
And in the context of all the Jedi we've seen so far. So again, if you've seen episode 1, 2, and 3, these kind of ancillary characters, these council members that you see in the background, now they're just being slaughtered.
Yeah.
And it's like,
some of them don't even get their sabers out.
Like, oh my god, the overkill on
the music.
Ayla Secura. Yeah, that's a big one in this.
The music was huge.
Episode 2 did not hit in the soundtrack the same way. Episode 1, fantastic. I mean, our Duel of the Fates, this is the movie.
Yeah.
But there are so many other the dark side, when he's with Plagueis and they're watching that Mon Cala, like, water ballet and stuff, and like that audio, like, that's haunting. The Order 66 is powerful.
Anakin's betrayal for me. That one's crazy. When he's like walking up the stairs of the temple.
What a scene, eh?
Oh, dude. That is that could be like the background everywhere. Like, that's an ultimate poster.
It's so well done. And you know what I do like? I know I was just shitting on them earlier. The Disney stuff has seemed to kind of pay tribute to the Jedi Temple. At least like from the scale and the shots and the cinematography, seems to be paying it respect. So watching them going up and like kind of watching everything happening in the background a little bit, I was paying more attention.
Yeah.
It just, you feel like like all the sequel stuff did do a good job kind of fitting into the lore and like the chaos of like, how many clones attacked the temple?
I don't even know.
It's a few thousand or whatever.
Probably.
Like, okay, so we know the Jedi are good and they can take down droids, but like all of a sudden, like they're really having.
Yeah.
This is a challenge.
It's massive. It's the entire army, really. Well, not the entire army, but like it's half of the 501st.
How many per Jedi? How many people do you think they can take on at a time? Like
if one Jedi versus how many clones?
A clone, smugglers, anything like that with blasters.
Depends on the Jedi.
But at a certain point, you're overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, but that'll be different for everybody.
Yeah, be it 1 or 1,000. At some point, there's a breaking number where you are overwhelmed. And you cannot deflect those bolts back. You cannot force. There's too much going on. That was the temple attack. That was like, doesn't matter how powerful of a Jedi you were, you hit your breaking point. It's like Nazi zombies.
You got it fatigued, yeah.
You could have the perfect, like, I was the World at War when the original one.
Yeah.
You're up in the gang walk. You've got your weapons. Yeah. Everything's perfect. You've got all the equipment you need. Eventually, you're going to run out.
Yeah.
Eventually, you run out of ammo. Eventually, you run out of steam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what, like, I really felt this time that, like, it was just like a wave of just hitting the temple.
Yeah.
And we've seen how sparse the temple had been in the other movies, and, like, they're not going to stand a chance.
Yeah.
You know? So I loved everything. Even, like, the big focus on, like, the Master Skywalker, the younglings. Like, people, like, why did we see that? Well, because he talked about killing kids in the other movie.
Which one?
Anakin, he killed,
yeah,
the women and children. You know what I mean? Like, so we've hit this point of like he kills children. Like this reiterates like he's killing like
groups of kids
that like look up to him.
Yeah,
that find refuge in him. You know what I mean? Like he so sought it in other people and the Jedi. Nah, he's like, oh, well.
Yeah,
yep, you're in my way.
Jeez,
it
hit so hard though. It was so good. That was That's why I love this movie so much. Like every part of it is just amazing.
This movie,
in my opinion, at least,
a lot more of an experience and adventure. We do not stop, and we don't feel like anything is wasted time.
Yeah.
Episode 2 felt like a lot of little silly side quests almost. Got to go to this. Got to find the dart. Got to where the dart's from. Where does the dart go? To kind of get there. This was like everything was just for a reason.
Back to back.
They rescue Palpatine. He has to go here because they have Grievous. Okay, well that's about that. Anakin has a meeting with Palpatine, attacks the temple. Once Grievous is done, Order 66 happens because there's no wasted moment here.
Yeah.
This was a really enjoyable movie to watch again, even knowing everything that happens. You're like, wow, this moves fast. And there's a lot of time dedicated to it. Like,
so this is a giant controversial part in this movie. Do you like the duel between Mace and the Masters versus Palpatine?
No. Especially seeing the deleted scenes, the behind that footage.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back to, I talked about it before with seeing Yoda like kind of fight Dooku. Dooku was too old to be doing these moments. Palpatine was way too old to be doing this stuff.
Palpatine's the strongest person in the galaxy.
But it just didn't feel proper that like he's like doing this spin spiral attack and he kills a Jedi, and then the next thing is a slat. Like he, as the actor, didn't feel fast. It didn't feel deadly enough. It felt like if they wanted it to look like that and they superimpose his face on a like acrobatic like stunt person that was just like really fast and fluid and move and like you believed it, like, yeah, that's one thing. This I did not feel like.
Well, what was it, CGI?
I think there was, to a degree, it was a lot of it. When you see him in the hallway, there is like a stunt double.
Yeah.
But like they have to keep in mind that like, okay, well, we're going to cut back to scenes where it's him.
Mm-hmm.
So the choreography, same with Mace. So like these actors, Samuel L. Jackson and Ian McDiarmid, they can't keep up this pace. So we can't have like the back and forth because it's really jarring. So like we'll just keep it slow the whole time. It looks silly. he like slowly like spirals out and like hits the Jedi, and then like the next swing, and like the Jedi are just so caught off guard.
So
it should have been like, what the just happened?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny because like you want the opposite of what most people want, but that's why I feel like it was done justice. So you want it to just happen, they all die, right? But like most people are like,
did it that way.
Most people are like, the 4 Jedi Masters like going against the Sith Lord, like that should have taken way longer. It should have been one of the best fights we ever saw. But I'm like, okay, well, the reason Palpatine screams is it was in all the old video games. It's a Sith roar. Okay. So you cause damage to your enemies, you blind them and take their hearing away for a second. They've also never heard this. These Jedis have never fought a Sith ever.
Like this.
So Palpatine goes, "You've come to kill me?" Blah! Shoots this like spell almost of like, it's like a concussion grenade times 10, but it hits your insides. It hurts your force powers. It hurts your senses. It hurts everything. And they don't even know what this is. They don't know what just happened. So they're all stunned. They're shocked. Palpatine spins, right? And Mace was the only one who wasn't like super affected by it, because the other 3 just stand there. And Mace was like backs up and gets like a blocking stance while Palpatine goes boom, spin, boom. And then Kit Fisto's out of this shock at this time. So Kit Fisto gets in the duel, and then Palpatine's just way better than Kit Fisto. So it took what, an extra 3 or 4 seconds?
I think it was, boom, really.
Kit Fisto drops. Mace is the only one that can actually duel with Palpatine. Like if it was 1-on-1, none of those Jedi would have lasted a second. Yeah. Palpatine would have just boom, right, done. But like Mace could have put up a fight. So like those guys got concussed, done, out. Like, and Palpatine's a genius, remember. So he knows exactly what to do. He can sense all their feelings, who's shaking, who's whatever, right? So he goes, boom, concussion, get rid of these weak guys. Then Kit Fisto pops back into it. He might be like still a little dazed or whatever. And then, so he's fighting, get rid of Kit Fisto. Now it's 1-on-1 with the guy that's...
See, okay, that is so much better. Why couldn't we get, maybe it's his film style or the cinematography. Why didn't we feel that way? To me, I didn't get like, I could have been done like, maybe I didn't pick up on it, like something where like he does that roar and like maybe you see it like the Jedi kind of.
He's also moving at lightning speed too.
I just didn't feel like he was moving at lightning speed though.
But that's because you have to see it. That's the same reason like Anakin and Obi-Wan were moving at lightning speed, but you can't watch 2 blurs walk around the screen. So they need to slow this down so you can understand what's happening. Like, have you ever watched a movie where they do that and it's like really crappy fight scene? Like it'll be like, say a boxing movie or something, and the camera angle changes like every second. So you're like, where the hell's, like, where'd that punch come from? And you just see like the glove and then the fist, whatever. But you're like, I can't follow the fight. So I'm like, they have to slow it down. In episode 1, we see them take off down the hallway, and you can really see the force speed there.
Yeah.
But I think after that, George was like, kind of corny. They just are using force speed. And for you to watch the movie, it needs to be slowed down.
Okay, so I really like that.
In, let me think of a good example. Like, I can't right now, but if they were in a room with normies, like, say, what's his face? Masamita was in the room. Masamita would have just seen, it would have 5 seconds, that whole duel, where the 3 of them die. It would have been like, boom, 3 Jedi hit the ground, like exactly what you're saying, right? But we have to see what happened, because if it was literally just a blur, and then
I really like that.
You'd be like, what the hell just happened, right?
So maybe going with that, maybe I didn't feel in that scale. Maybe we should have had like a pan out shot to like the distance from Palpatine's, maybe I'm just thinking of a different shot, but like you see Palpatine's desk and how far away those Jedi are.
I think what they could have done,
it's like that, like, then CGI that launch or something.
What they could have done to make it feel more oomph would be everything in the room should have moved with him. Like, absolutely. If you shoot a bullet, the air moves around it. So if Palpatine's moving at the speed of a bullet, his desk should have flipped over. Papers should have followed him.
That scene in The Matrix where Neo's chasing to Trinity, if you've seen that, like he's pulling all the cars in it. It's like that funnel of... Exactly. That would have been so much cooler. So Palpatine does that roar. You could have done it in a way that like you really felt the Jedi. Like you could have, like they stumble, or you take a close-up when the Jedi come in and you can see like sweat or something. Like very subtly in a way where like you can kind of see the stress and the, okay, something's going on there, uncertain. He does this roar and you feel it. It's like a visceral, like you could have done it with audio too, like a deafening kind of blow, and then he, like you said, shoots across his desk and everything pulls with him. And it's not is it Sansi Tin that takes the first hit?
Sansi Tin, Eth Koth, Kit Fisto.
No, that's not Eth Koth.
That's not?
No,
that's Aegon Cooler?
It's Aegon Cooler. Who's first to fall?
I think it's Sansi Tin.
So,
mind you, I don't know. Like, it would be him or...
It happens so fast. It should have been, though, like you said, the shot where it's like the roar, you almost see the shock wave, and then it's like he launches across. It's like that sonic boom. Like,
exactly.
So he's roared, and he's already moved, and you don't hear it, and then all the paper suck, and he's already through him. Cool? He's already through Sansa, and it's like, what just happened? And then it cuts to Aegar, and he's going from looking at Palpatine to all of a sudden he's like slowly moving over, like the Justice League when when Superman turns his head to the Flash.
Yeah.
So it's all of a sudden like he starts to like look over to be like the Emperor was, and as he's looking, and he just gets sliced down, and it's like the Emperor's moving in.
It would have been cool if they put like a slow motion in there, like kind of what you're saying. Like it would be awesome if he looks and like he's like following Palpatine's saber, but then it's already through him by the time he can like look at it.
The next, yeah.
And then
he's like, very well done.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do a remake of our own of that.
Dude.
But that should have been, because the way you're saying this, that sounds so much better.
Right?
Like we didn't necessarily.
But that's what I got from it.
The drawn out stance. I took that like he just caught them off guard. But like this whole like the Sith roar, that's amazing. That's a great,
and that's from all the old games and stuff.
That's
and,
fantastic.
Yeah, I really appreciate that fight, and I think a lot of people like don't give it the love that it deserves because like they don't understand it, they don't look deep enough, right? Like I'm like that fight was so well done from every perspective, and then we watch Mace get more powerful as Palpatine gets, and like that's Mace's whole thing. The more evil you are, the stronger I get.
Okay, so this is my thing with Mace. So I didn't like when that fight carried into like the hallway and stuff. It was too slow. And if you watch the behind the scenes, if it's Ian McDermott and Samuel, it is too slow. If you're gonna go that slow, really make the blows impactful.
They were like intimate at that point.
When Balin swings in Ahsoka, I know I'm like Disney and praising, but when Balin swings in Ahsoka,
make up your mind.
You feel like he's really hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you could have two real heavy hitters. Or if we're going with this Palpatine's really speedy, you can't have speed and power. So you know what I mean? Like maybe he's...
No, but he can.
Or so maybe he is, and like that's catching. But to me, like that just felt very much like that was the least choreographed.
So let me explain my opinion of the hallway scene.
Okay.
So Palpatine just shook the whole room, killed 3 Jedi. Mace is like, what the hell just happened? My army's gone. Mace is trying to understand Palpatine. Who are you? How am I going to beat you? Are you going to fuel my power? Right? Palpatine's looking at Mace like, how the hell are you still alive? Who is this guy? How, like, you know what I mean? Like, who the hell do you think you are? How are you still here? Like, I thought, like, I just wiped you out like I wiped out your other buddies. Why is he still here? Palpatine's trying to figure out Mace. Mace is trying to figure out Palpatine. So neither of them are trying to take the other guy's head off at this point. They're both like, what do I do next? Like, who is this guy? How's the power level? Like, that's what I kind of took out of that. And then after that, it quickly ramps up. Mace goes, okay, I get more powerful as this guy gets more aggressive. So let's start the fight again. And then they get into it, and the window gets broken, and Mace is like on his little rival thing, and then boom, shoots his saber out, knocks him down, and then like Mace beat him.
Okay, so I'm gonna see. I think this is where the duel comes in here between us. I really like the idea, so that they're kind of testing each other. But I also think that like Palpatine knows who Mace Windu is at this point.
Yes,
he knows of Mace Windu.
He's never fought him though.
He's had dealings with him. I think they've like interacted, have they not?
Oh yeah, they've sat in the same room together.
He knows who he is. Mace just watched him slaughter. Why did Mace just bring 3? So that's part of that Jedi, kind of that, not the ignorance that we were talking about, the other one, but like that naivete, like
100%.
Oh, it's a Dark Lord of the Sith. Oh, there's a battalion or a squadron or whatever of clones here on the planet, which are eventually going to turn on the temple. I'm not going to take any of them. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to take just 3 other guys.
So he didn't even plan which guys he was going to take. Those 3 guys were standing behind him, and he was like, let's go. Like, he didn't even go back into the temple to be like, does anyone want to come help? Like, he literally was just like, cool, right now, let's
So
go.
we talked about how, the clones overwhelmed the Jedi. Like, if there's a breaking number, he could have gone back to the temple. He could have armed everyone that was there, every master, every apprentice, every knight. Like, okay.
Get ready.
Yeah, call to arms. We are arresting him right now.
Yeah.
He shows up in a force of 100 Jedi, 10 Jedi deep, 20 Jedi deep. It doesn't matter. There's going to be a hit point where, like, Palpatine cannot contend with all that.
100%.
But he takes 3 other masters. They were all masters of the council, right? Yeah. So you would think they're strong, but again, why are they not off planet dealing with something like the other ones? So maybe they're not strong enough, or maybe they succeeded. Maybe they're tired too. Maybe they just got back from campaigns themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Never thought of that, yeah.
So, like, they're fatigued. They're like...
But obviously they weren't at Mace's level.
And again, we're going off just the movies. So we know that Mace has, encounters, but I kind of feel like, without seeing that stuff, you feel like Mace has never participated in a battle, in my opinion.
Well, he took out Jango Fett.
In the Battle of Geonosis. The Geonosian Pit.
Yeah.
I feel like past that, he's been like a supreme commander, and he's been on the back line of the Jedi. Like,
so what is your take on Mace Windu? Because, like, when I see Mace Windu sitting beside Yoda, I'm like, okay, Yoda's the... You ever seen Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how they say he's God's right hand?
Yeah.
He's God's weapon. Mace is Yoda's weapon, is the way I look at Mace.
Because that is Master and Apprentice, right?
Yeah.
So Yoda trained Dooku. Yoda also trained Mace.
Yeah.
What happened to Dooku?
Well, Dooku fell because he hated everyone and thought the Jedi Order was corrupt, and now we know it is.
And his master was Yoda.
Yeah.
So my thought, and this is kind of dark, and I would have to look into it, I think Mace has fallen to the dark side.
Like, completely?
No, I think that, like, they talk about it, like, even if you fall, like, you've fallen. But his whole shtick, and we know it, is that, like, he is the darkest Jedi. Like, he's kissed the dark and come back, and he's, the purple saber and his stance. It's
for pod.
Yeah, it's all about using so his strongest elements are technically dark side characteristics. So I kind of took it as that, like, is he like a Sith in hiding? Like, is he like a Sith in all but name? Because Sith aren't necessarily like a decrepit old man, a skinless freak, destroyed creature. Like, Sith is just another way of the Jedi. Like, it's just another, like...
Well, no, Sith is a religion like the Jedi, but, like...
That's what I mean. It's not a race. It's not a physical trait. It's not...
If he
Darth
was...
Maul, it's,
He would just be a dark Force user.
But at this point, in these universes, so we're just watching the movies. So all you've seen is you sat down, you watched the movies. All you know of it is Jedi or Sith. There's one or the other. You know what I mean? There's no, like, gray area where we're told that this guy operates in kind of a gray area. I feel like maybe Windu knew what was going on. Like, maybe he's not really a good character.
We don't know that he uses the dark side in the movies. That's never said. So if we're just going off the movies, then we can't bring other facts in, right? Like, so we don't know that. We just think he's a wicked Jedi.
Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right there. I guess it's maybe some of that other stuff where
it gets blended that it gets confusing. Because, like, if you're strictly watching the movies, at no point does Mace do anything dark.
He has a purple lightsaber.
Yeah, but you don't know what that means. They don't explain that.
You see blue and green.
So you can infer.
You got red. Who's purple? If we're just, like, seriously looking down, I know I'm being super basic. Red and green, red. Who's purple?
Well, you also got to look at it, like, if we're doing that, then, like, it's purple Samuel L. Jackson. Like, that's what I mean.
Like, he chose that. He chose that for himself. He won. Yeah. Another thing that I think, just really off topic, I think Anakin should have had a green saber to start off with.
Why?
I think it would have completed the circle of Luke going blue to green and Anakin having green to blue.
But they're different, and, like, green means, like...
And we're talking just the context of the movie, though. Green and blue don't mean anything.
So you think his episode 2 saber should have been green?
I think...
He did!
Right?
At the end, it was green.
It's the coolest thing in the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
It always should have been green.
Interesting.
Like, his first one that he started with in that movie should have been green. And he should have got a replacement green one. It should have just been like, that was a contrast.
Yeah.
Okay?
Interesting.
And then when Luke does a callback, like I'm a Jedi, but he made a green saber to be like his father. You know what I mean?
So okay, if you had to pick, you're in Anakin's shoes. Are you choosing to go with Palpatine? Or
sorry, we're talking Mace here, the dark. So you're talking. If Anakin, am I going with
the Council,
which is Mace and the Council,
and taking Palpatine or Mace killing Palpatine, or are you doing what Anakin did?
Okay, that scene. So to go back a little bit, I feel like you said in that scene, that fight, that like Palpatine, like they were kind of sizing each other up. I think he knew he wasn't going to win at any point.
Like the whole time?
When Palpatine was fighting Mace, I think that he realized like he hit a point of like, I can't beat this guy with a saber. I think like all that, like I think the window was cracked intentionally. Like it wasn't just like an off cut. Like, okay, I'm going to cut this window. I'm a Sith. I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to blow this guy out the window. I'm just going to shoot him out. I'm going to do something. That is my end goal. It's not going to be beating him with a saber. Because when it comes to saber, he's touched the dark, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He is a better duelist.
He's a better duelist.
Yeah.
So I think the second he senses Anakin, because there's a little bit of time where Anakin lands on the pod and he has to sense him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think he totally changes his tone and he's like, I have to play the weak guy.
Yeah.
I have to play the victim, because that's what I've been telling Anakin. I've been saying the Jedi are here, they're ruthless, they're trying to take power.
Yeah. I've
told him that I'm a dark side user. He can't see me dueling with a saber.
Yeah.
Because if he sees me dueling with a saber, I'm Dooku. I'm just another Sith. He needs to see me like frail, but he needs to see my power too. He needs to see this weakness of this old man. Like, oh.
I love that theory. That's great.
But I have unlimited power.
Yeah.
I look like this, but this is what I can do.
Yeah.
I don't attack first.
Well, it was just more manipulation in the time.
100%.
And he's the master of manipulation.
So I feel like that whole thing was like, yeah, if he could have killed all four of those Jedi there and wiped them out, like you said, like, okay, I'm done, on to the next, great. I think it got to a point where he's like, I can't beat Mace outright. That's not my strength. I'm not an active practicing Jedi.
Yeah. Like
he is in training, you know what I mean? So I've used my sweet abilities, my Sith roar, my lightning speed. I've cut down, all I can think now in my head is a slow motion scene of him launching across this. He's like, I can't beat him, but he can beat him. And I need him to beat him, because if Anakin beats Mace, then the transfer is complete. So I don't need to beat him anymore. I'm just going to finish setting all the chess pieces. He's going to sacrifice a queen to get the guy in check in 2 turns.
Yeah.
And the guy doesn't see that. Mace doesn't see that. So the window goes, I lose the saber. He has a second saber. We know that.
Yeah.
Again, I know it's not in the movie, but we know he has 2. He's like, no, I need to be weak. I need to be, this Supreme Chancellor, not this Sith assassin. And then, I mean, what does Anakin do at this point? So Palpatine puts him on the council. Mace refuses to give him
the rank of master,
which I think is justifiable. I think
not the way he did it though. Like he was just super.
So again, this goes back to, I think Mace Windu is a shit server. I think he's like part of the dark side. He's pushing buttons. He could be amicable. It's not just like a lot of the Jedi are.
I think he's jealous.
That's a great point.
Like, I think he wishes he was the chosen one. And he's like, I've done all this work. I'm so good. Like,
I've beaten the light, and I've gone to the dark, and I've beaten.
I'm balanced. Yeah. And then Anakin's like, no, I'm
that's a great one.
And like, so he just hates Anakin for that. And he probably also hates Anakin because he was like, no, you're too old. And Qui-Gon was like, ha, give fuck. And then, you know what I mean? And then he was like, oh, well, screw this guy. And now I'm stuck with him for life. And
I got to train this guy that's going to, I've got to be part of this guy who's going to surpass me. And he's going to take my rank. And, we learn later, like how, Mace Windu is like a company man. Like he's like, I'm working my way through, like I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to be and get to the top. I'm going to run the show one day. I'm going to, So I take it that like Mace was
threatened.
Yeah, like Mace is not a perfect Jedi.
No.
I think the perfect Jedi is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think you see that. So I think the big thing where I get it from is what makes Obi-Wan so strong in his physical prowess. He's all about defense. Yeah. That's the way a Jedi should be. Yeah. A Jedi does not strike first.
I'll agree with you. Kenobi's probably the perfect Jedi.
So you know what I mean?
I could agree with that. 100%.
It's like so when he gets to see Anakin,
it's because he's so damn disciplined.
But he's followed it in the proper way.
Yeah.
So when he goes to see Lord Vader, he knows that Vader has gone to the temple and slaughtered. He's seen the recordings. Mm-hmm. He knows how bad Lord Vader is.
Yeah.
He knows. He thinks it's still Anakin. He's trying to save him. And
Could you imagine that feeling? Your best friend just killed everyone.
The person you raised.
Yeah.
Oh, I screwed up.
Yeah.
How could that happen? So he either did know about it because he's like, yeah, that guy was walking the razor's edge.
Man.
What pushed him? Was it my death? Did he think that I died on Utapau and he turned evil? You know what I mean? Did he think did he not realize? Because he wouldn't have.
So many options that would have been going through Kenobi's head.
So I think that's what makes the Jedi so powerful. Mace, on the other hand, is very aggressive, just like a Sith. He's very strong and I'll attack first and all. Mace is one who leads the Jedi party into the Geonosian pit, and they get slaughtered.
Yeah,
because they're not not suited for that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's 2 for 2. He's like, let's go fight. Boom, we're all dead.
And he's just like, what's wrong with you guys? Yeah. And there's slaughtered Jedi everywhere that are just I just read 6 books. I'm not here to fight a bunch of droids.
No wonder he's so jealous of Anakin, because Anakin doesn't lose. Every war Anakin goes to, he wins. That's his thing. Well, through the Clone Wars, I know we're talking about 3, but you know what I mean? He wins every time. He's the winner, and Mace just loses, non-stop.
I should
Grievous got away from him in the 2D Clone Wars. He lost. Yeah, that was what he kept losing.
I'm super. He's the chosen one, but I'm the actual all-powerful one. Why can't I get this?
You know why he keeps losing? Because he's not fighting someone like Palpatine. Palpatine heightens Mace's powers. Mace versus Jedi Anakin, whooped, slaughtered, no chance. Mace wouldn't put up a fight. Sith Anakin, Mace would probably beat him.
Okay, I like that.
Because Mace draws his power from the dark side of the user he's fighting.
So how did Mace not see Anakin taking his hand off? How did he not?
He was blinded. He wasn't even thinking about Anakin.
He didn't see the anger. He didn't see he didn't feel like.
No, I feel he was truly blinded, and everything was on Palpatine. And mind you, this is Mace's moment. Mace does nothing but lose. I just won my first fight.
Yeah,
I won my first fight. And he's giddy. He's I'm gonna cut his head off. And Anakin's nope.
That's why he went to the to arrest Palpatine like that.
Yeah.
I don't need to take the rest of the temple. I don't need to take anyone else. I'll take these 3 guys as backup so they can watch.
So they can watch, exactly.
And I'm gonna take the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
All of a sudden
I'm gonna be Anakin. I'm gonna be the chosen one.
I'm gonna take him down.
Mace is the most pathetic character in Star Wars.
Because Anakin has just killed Dooku at this point in the story. And Dooku is the whole reason the Clone Wars was going on. Yeah, there's General Grievous. That was a general, but Dooku had started it. We see that he's the separatist leader in Attack of the Clones. So all of a sudden it's Anakin took down the leader of the opposition.
Yeah.
Well, I can take down the leader of everything? Yeah, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to show it. You're so right. I'm going to show how good I am.
Yeah.
These 3 guys can just be my backup.
We cracked the code. Yeah. I swear to God, we just cracked the code. That is so it. Mace just wants to be Anakin. That's why he hates him.
So I feel how Anakin falls to the dark side, Mace is still kind of he's blinded by it. He's still tainted by it.
Yeah. Have you seen Star Wars Theory's concept for his fan film? It's Mace is not dead because he shouldn't be dead. He got thrown out a window. But he's all messed up. He's all scarred and everything. And he's more just tapped into the dark side now. And his only goal is kill Vader. Oh, dude.
Why don't we get anything like that? So the problem is...
And then
Samuel
a YouTuber
Jackson
has to make it.
110 years old now. I'm making fun of these. I'm not making fun of, but I'm
the reason we're not getting it is because a YouTuber's got to make it because Disney sucks. And a YouTuber can't monetize it. So a YouTuber has to go out and spend $5 million to make this movie, which... can't make any money on.
Did you see there was concept art for when the Kenobi series was coming out? There was an image that came up. I'll try and find it where it's Mace Windu and it's half his he's holding it's the hilt of his saber, so half of his face is dark and the other half is and he's weathered and they're there should be some sort of ploy of him in the series. So we've talked about that. Man, how cool would that series have been if it was Kenobi is discovered by Windu? And he's let's go take this person down. Like, we have to destroy.
Second crack at the Emperor.
Yeah.
Let me be your Anakin.
Still losing, you know what I mean? And then it's like, that's the reveal that, like, holy shit, this Vader is Anakin. And, like, that drives Mace to insanity. You know? That would have been cool. But, okay, so we talk about the Mace death. He got unlimited power, and then he was launched out a window.
Yeah, but he was alive when he got launched out the window.
I mean,
because he's screaming when he gets launched out, which means he's still alive. I can't take any death seriously in Star Wars if we don't see the death.
Any death seriously.
Yeah.
In any Disney production, but especially Star Wars right now.
Like,
deaths don't mean anything.
You need to see a decapitation or something. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like,
I was gonna say you need to see someone cut in half, but still,
no,
that doesn't.
It's a decapitation. Like, Dooku, when his head gets cut off, you're like, oh, he gone. You just see his lifeless body roll over.
And I guess Grievous too, where you see like
his head explode.
You're absolutely right. You need to see a head because like the eyeballs in Grievous, that's a gruesome death.
Django.
Yeah, Django. Yep. Holy, I think we're on the other point here. But man, the Grievous when he dies.
Oh, it's crazy.
That scene put up like his.
It's scary, dude.
Because he's still a human being in he's
a humanoid. Yeah.
His eyeballs ignite on fire and stuff, and he's still like.
Yeah.
So I guess is Windu alive? Yeah, he probably should have been.
He definitely should be. Yeah, he'd be all messed up and stuff, but
why didn't he go back to the temple? Why didn't he? Is it just that the injury took so long? So like the time he like is unconscious or he wakes up in the dumpster or whatever, everything's already happened. And he's like, I have to go into hiding.
Maybe.
So then, how do you do that series going forward? You can't use Samuel L. Jackson; he's way too old.
Oh, dude. How did we do Mando season 2 with Luke?
You can't do an entire series like that.
Yes, you can.
They would never go for that. You could do a movie.
Will.
Listen, you
I
could do a movie.
promise you, it's coming. I promise you, it's coming.
I think we're gonna see a change.
Look how much we've gotten with Anakin.
Oh, for sure. But I think you're gonna see more movies than TV shows right now because. Think about making a 6-hour TV series versus a 2-hour movie.
Oh, yeah.
Much more like...
Well, we should be seeing movies, but we don't because they want their streaming service money.
Which is ridiculous. A terrible... Bob Chapek is a terrible CEO and Bob Iger,
So,